So you think you're good at D&D? Well, you know what? You're probably right. You're probably even better than I am. But the fact that you're here means that you think you can do even better. Welcome to Okayest DM. I'm the Okayest DM, and here are my top 5 player tips for Dungeons & Dragons. These are the 5 best habits that my players have. Number 1. Know what your character can do. This is something that will come with time. It really helps if you start at a low level when your character can't do very much. That means it's less for you to memorize. 1 session per month isn't very helpful either. Another thing that is really helpful is playing your character a lot. So if you have more sessions more often and you manage to schedule them only a week, 2 weeks apart, you will remember what your character can do much more easily. Now, this can be partly the DM's fault if you don't know what your character can do. If your DM helped you build the character, or worse, built it for you and just gave you a character to play, then it's not on you that you don't know what your character can do. But you should still make an effort to read through the player's handbook, read through your class abilities, your spell descriptions, to know what you have in your arsenal and know what you can throw at the enemies that your DM throws at you. One way to really help with this that I've found is to reorganize your character sheet so that it lists what actions, bonus actions, and reactions you can do every combat. That way, if you don't know what to do on your turn in combat, you can just take a look through those actions, bonus actions, and make sure you know all of your options before you make a decision. If you make your character on D&D Beyond, they will do this for you. They already list it on that page, what your actions are, what your bonus actions are. And I've been told it's very helpful. I've seen it myself, but I haven't used it. I actually redesigned my own character sheet. If you'd like to see the character sheet I designed, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. I find that having the actions and bonus actions readily available and sorted into actions and bonus actions is extremely helpful. Another way to help know what your character can do is to think about what your character will get next level while you're outside of the session. Do some research, make your decision, especially if you're leveling up and getting this new subclass. That's going to change everything about your character. Make sure you know what those changes are before you have to do the actual leveling up. That way, you know you made the right decision when you do take a level up, and you will know what your character can do long before the character is even able to do it. The second best habit that my players and characters have gotten into is giving each session a review. Feedback is everything to a DM that's trying to get better. Knowing what they did wrong and how they can fix it, or knowing what they did well to do it that same way next time, is very, very helpful, both in D&D and in other aspects when people are trying to improve at anything. Getting feedback and accepting feedback is one of the easiest ways to improve at anything quickly, and D&D is definitely not an exception. The third best habit that my players have is getting excited about the other player characters' backstories or their personal quests. This has I'm not exaggerating here, 100% success rate at getting everyone excited and invested in the story. If you ask anyone about something they care about, they will want to talk about it. They will go on and on, whether or not you want to hear it. This is pretty common in some social circles where someone will go on and on and on about a player character that they created or their plot line for their campaign. You love talking about your character, don't lie. And so do others. They love talking about their characters. And if you convince yourself that you're invested in someone else's character, they will get more invested in it, the DM will get more invested in it, the other players will get more invested in it. and I think that that makes for a much more fun campaign. The fourth good habit that my players have is reacting to the atmosphere. Like I said earlier, feedback is everything to a DM, and this doesn't have to just happen out of the session. A DM needs to know how the players feel about what's actively happening. If a DM puts a lot of work into something, and the players react to it in the way the DM expected, the result is amazing. It is cathartic for both the player and the DM. The important thing about this, a sort of caveat, is you need to keep your reactions short. A soft, whoa, if the DM is describing how you're swimming through schools of jellyfish, through a beautiful coral forest with vivid descriptions, or an, oh God, at something that's dangerous, actively happening. You show fear in your eyes. Or if something disgusting happens, like a DM is describing how the zombie is ripping out its own guts and spilling them onto the floor, a little shiver at how disgusting and gross that is will really show the DM that they are doing a good job and to keep it up and do even better. I know that this isn't going to come naturally to everyone. I know it certainly didn't for me at first. But this is something where fake it till you make it definitely applies. If you pretend to be grossed out at those guts spilling onto the floor, to be in awe of the beauty of this waterfall description, eventually those descriptions will have the same impact on you that you're trying to show the DM. If there are too many reactions, because this has happened to me, if there are too many reactions at the table and it starts to get annoying, discuss it outside of the session. Make sure that you people are aware of your feelings when you don't like something. If something happens in the session that you did not enjoy, make sure the DM and the other players know about it. That's very important. The last habit that my players have that I think is the most important has already been mentioned in the previous 4, once in every single one. If you can find it, let me know. This is probably one of the hardest things for most players to do, and you are already doing it. You are 5 steps ahead of them. Number 5, do D&D outside of D&D. Dungeons & Dragons doesn't just take place at the role-playing table. It happens on your own, outside of the session. Just by watching this video or searching YouTube for advice, you have already done this, and I am so proud of you. Your Dungeon Master will be happy, and you yourself will improve as a player, or as a Dungeon Master, if that's your thing. Going outside of the session to figure out your level up, to put together a personal quest with the DM, to read the player's handbook or any Dungeons & Dragons book is the most important thing you can do. Time commitment outside of the session will make the actual session exponentially better. Thank you for watching. You are already a better player. Like, subscribe, and remember, everything will be okay.